But those that never heard him speak before, he's a community leader, he's a great dad, a great son to his mom. He also had one of the best promotions the SVP I've ever seen. Les Brown standing with him as his father. I mean, it was just amazing promotion I ever seen. Not a dry in the house. Not even the co-founders were all weeping. But I want to say thank you for all he does. For not only that, but he's also a icon. He's also a Yoda. Let me get my Yoda here. He's a Yoda. And I got Rick K in Hawaii sent me this one the other day. So I just want to say thank him for all of his leadership, health-wise, spiritual, mentally, physically. He does it all, folks. He's a real rounded person. Can we give a warm welcome to Senior Vice President Byron?
I am so excited to be here. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Um, it's a season. It is definitely a season. I don't know. I've experienced a lot over the last week of a lot of meltdowns, a lot of people having meltdowns, just over life, just over the overwhelming stuff that is happening in life. Is everybody with me on that? I mean, just understanding the energy is seismic. Uh, but before I even would ever get on to a call like this, you got to understand the Godfather Al Thomas, why I would get on a call, and understand how extraordinary he is, and just providing a space for you to be able to learn, grow, scale, and truly build a dynasty. And that's really what my life is about, and why we are interchanged, like with an umbilical cord of Siamese twins, because our vision is the same, and that's just to help as many people become wealthy as possible. And it's funny because I hear that. I hear a lot of people say that because I get people invite me to get on a lot of calls, or train on calls, or coach on calls, or be exposed to calls. And I hear people say, like, I was on this one presentation, I don't mean to de-edify it in any way because somebody might be attached to it here. And they're like, we want you to be able to, we took the company apart, and we put it back together again. And I'm listening to things that people have duplicated, coined, and stolen, whether you call it R&D, research and development, from what we've been doing for now 30 years. This is the Alpha and Omega. It is the original. And it's really difficult to go deal with carbon copies and copies at all when you've dealt with the original, if that makes any sense. It's kind of, once you're exposed to something that's real, it's very difficult to deal with anything that is attempting to duplicate it, leaders included. And so when you get someone like, and I live on everything that I do on cliches and philosophies. And the number one philosophy is, documentation beats conversation, which is why we're here with Mr. Al Thomas. If somebody tells you, this is what I'm doing, the point is, let's not talk about anybody else. Let's talk about self. You need to document yourself. Well, what do you mean by that, Dr. Nelson? Well, you need to create a story around yourself. What's going to be your story? Let's just start there, because I can literally talk about Mr. Al Thomas, Dr. Thomas, for the next 2 years and not miss an adjective, verb, or a beat, not say the same thing twice, because of how many people he has helped. Is that making sense? You guys following me on that so far? How many people has genuinely, authentically helped? And when a person has that type of heart to really help people, touch people, move people, you don't, and I said this in a training yesterday, or I was saying it to a team of people. If you're doing what you're intending on doing, if you're doing what you say you're doing, this isn't pertaining necessarily to you or anybody else, but just when you're hearing people talk. If you are really doing what you say you're doing, you don't have time to talk about what you're doing. If you're a great surgeon, you don't have time to tell people how great a surgeon you are because you're in surgery. If you're Serena playing tennis, you don't have to tell people how great you are because you're on the court developing your skill set to a degree that everybody else in the world will stand and watch. First, it's just the coach. Then it's people on the team. Then it's the people that you beat. Oh, now all of your competitors are looking at you. Now the parents are looking at you. Now their coaches are looking at you. Now a city is looking at you. Now a state is looking at you. Now the junior varsity team is looking at you. Now the junior Olympics are looking at you. Now the country has an eye on you. Now professional scouts are looking at you. Now the world is looking at you. You don't have time to tell people what you're doing if you're actually doing it. Because if you're actually doing it, everybody else is talking about you. Did that make sense? Not yet, if I'm making sense. You guys with me on that? See, everybody around the world is talking about Al Thomas. That's why he doesn't have a street. They still talking about him. They ain't talking about me no more. That's why I got to put up a street sign. But I talk about Al Thomas all over the world. I get to a high frequency. Now, we don't waste our conversation on low frequency individuals. You aren't talking about the person at the bus stop. You aren't talking about the person that, is that empty can making all this noise about what they're going to do. You talk about people that are doing things, and you almost hold it like a spade, almost like it's a, one in the deck. Like you're gonna have to hold it like an ace. It's like I got something for you. You aren't out there talking to somebody at Walmart or at the bus stop about somebody that you have the highest respect for. You're holding it to be able to leverage it. Hence the power of edification, to edify. I'm going somewhere with this. I hope you guys get this sermon this morning. It's almost to be able to share who's at your table and whose table you sit at. If you have a dinner table, even Last Supper, you don't have more than about 10, 12 people at the table. If you're lucky, you're blessed enough to get that many. But to have Al Thomas is worth 120 on a bad day of the best people you could probably believe of. You would love to have one of him, let alone 10 or 12. You would have to be Jesus to get anything close to that. But let's start with one. The power of one. One more call, one more presentation, one more customer, one more event, doing one more than everybody else. Let's start with the power of one. Can I do one more today? Can I make one more person smile? Can I change one more person's life? Can I do one more rep? Can I just walk one more step? Can I just set one more goal? Can I just read one more book? Can I just do one more? Can I earn one more dollar? Power of one. I made what I call a gumbo for success. And I'm going to give them to you in the course of about 15 minutes. And it's going to be my part one of this month. And then we can move on to what we have going on this weekend and next Friday. But I'm going to give you the gumbo for June. And this is just the outline for where we're going to go for the month. And of course, my number is 7, number of completion, God's number. The perfect number is always 7. So that's why it's 7 ingredients for this gumbo of success. That means I need to have some gumbo this weekend. King crab, some king cream. Yeah. Get some seafood going on. Let's start with number 1. Who am I? That's number 1. Who am I? Before you start this journey of life, before you actually get involved with this business, before you actually commit to your goals and your dreams, you need to establish who you are. Are you here to win? Are you here to be involved? Are you here to be committed? Most people are involved. That's why they never win. Most people say they're committed, but they're committed to getting in. They aren't committed to succeeding. So there's different levels of commitment. You got to understand, a lot of people are committed. You got people that are committed to looking at it that, fake on you all the time. You got people that are committed to getting in that never get in. You have people that are committed to get in, but they're like, I'm already in. So that was their commitment. That was their level of commitment. And you have others that have commitment. I'm going to see if it works. I'm going to definitely I hear this first position. I'm going to come and they commit to that. Very few commit to finishing what they start and understanding that the game starts at the end of your senior year. So if you're senior, you don't, it's not, you're not in it in your freshman year at ETL or your sophomore year at RD or, your junior year, at, you start when you graduate. Does that make sense? So you have to finish and understand for me and Al, when we started, um, before they restructured the college system, your actual graduate degree was SVP. So we're like, okay, we can start our career after we get our degree. You got to figure out, are you just going to go to a 2-year college and finish after, 2 positions, and that you're going to be comfortable there and get stuck there? Are you just going to finish the 3rd year or the 4th year? Are you going to get your graduate? So you can actually finish undergrad and graduate here in 3 years. You can finish undergraduate in 2 years, but you got to go to school. You got to go to school. Your greatest interest should be in going to school versus, getting the title. If you go to school, the titles come by default. You graduate to each level of life without trying. So the first ingredient, the foundation, is being very clear as to who I am. I put that right next to number 2 ingredient, which is legacy. Everything that we do, or everything that I do, I know everything that Al does. What I'm in right now is what I call my Sistine Chapel. And that means it has to be a masterpiece. I don't have time to make watercolors and play in the sand with crayons. I need a masterpiece. I need a David. I need something chiseled away that becomes so you can go back to, Greece and see the pillars of Rome. I need you to see my life as something that will stand way beyond the time that I'm here. It's critical. Me being you, you being me. So when I say I, for those that are new, you'll know that I'm talking about us here in this platform. I need to have a legacy life. I need my time to count. I'm on this call early in the morning, middle morning, whatever. You're giving up your greatest resource you will ever have on the planet Earth, which is time, more expensive than any dollar you'll have in your bank account. Make it work for you. Make your money, which is what I call time, work for you. Make your time work for you. Make your money work for you. Stop spending and make sure everything you do is an investment with a return. Every conversation, everything you eat, everything, all your actions. So that's number 2, is legacy, which is linked to your heart. Number 3 is urgency. It's an urgency. Underneath urgency of putting off what you could do today versus waiting until tomorrow, the urgency is understanding a system that I've taught before, which is called be, do, have. Be, do, have. The B for me is your belief system. Do you believe you should have more than you have? Do you believe you're capable of learning? Do you believe you're capable of growing? Do you believe you're capable of being the person you want to be, living where you want to live, cashing the check that you want to cash, being free to wake up when you want to finish sleeping, to be able to travel the way you want to travel, to do what you want when you want to do it, with who you want to do it, that if you don't like the way you went to bed, you can go back to sleep? Then I said, hey, you know what? It's 1 o'clock. I've got a lot of work done. 2 o'clock. Okay. All right. Let me set my alarm. Me and Al are texting back and forth. I got to be up by 7, 8 o'clock. I only need 5 hours of sleep. And then I can actually take care of my business between pretty much 7:30 and 10:30 with a great workout. And then I can go back to bed and take a nap and then have a cook make me an amazing meal. What's today? Monday, Wednesday? I don't know. Do I care? I'm going to tell you, one of the greatest signals that allow you to know you're free is when you forget what day it is and you don't know whether Friday is Monday or Monday is Wednesday. When you stop looking at the days and you don't have to wake up and jump out of bed to an alarm clock or have to run to an appointment or an open house, or the clock does not control you, you control the clock. That's the best way of saying it. No judgment on anything else. Just write that down. When the clock does not control you, but you control the clock. That's one of the greatest signals of freedom. So to be, you have to have that belief system. Then I'm going to say 70%, I'm really about 60, 70%. 70% of it is really to do. What are you doing? The actions you're taking. Notice I had urgency before, and this urgency is into your belief system, which we will carry more into how to get that. Baltimore is a great start. Reading is a great start. Deciding to take these actions, great start. So I'm gonna tell you, within business, this business and the three things, this is a subset behind, if you will, be do have, that I would become just consumed with, obsessed with. Events. How do I fill an event and not have to pay for it? Events. How many lieutenants and five-star generals can I get to get trained? How many, really amazing individuals can I put in a duplication machine? Because until I can duplicate myself, I can never be successful. Until I have 5 McDonald's, I'll be in the McDonald's working it all by myself. Until I can have 10 real estate offices. Until I can have 10 SVPs. Until I can have a machine that is duplicating success. That's the only way that I can leverage my time. It's the greatest understanding on the planet Earth, is understanding other people's time, other people's ideas, other people's money. It's the key to understanding the number one word in success is called leverage. And the only way you're going to leverage yourself is to duplicate leaders, developing leaders. Now, people make the mistake of going out there to just find leaders instead of finding people. And in the people, the leader will find you. I hope you guys just got that. That was a lot. I'll say it again. You don't go looking for leaders. The only leader you need to look for is in the mirror. If you really want to find an amazing leader, you have to go to the mirror. The only leader you'll ever need is in the mirror. When you find that leader, and please look hard for that leader, work on that leader harder than you've worked on anything in your life. And in the law of attraction, what I call the straight magnetism force to be reckoned with, they find you when you decide to become the leader. So you need a farm team, like a G team in the NBA, with a whole lot of people. And all these people, many will be sheeple, but amongst these people, there are a few people that will become your greatest leaders on the planet Earth. You are a galvanizing source of extraordinary people. This goes back to me being you, you being me. I am talking into you as if you're having this conversation with yourself. Nod your head if that makes sense. Okay? So we're talking as if affirmations. I'm looking not at a whole bunch of people. I'm not looking at Al Randolph. I'm not looking at Amanda. I'm not looking at Ryan. I'm looking at myself. I'm not looking at Tom and David or Maria. I'm looking at myself, looking in the mirror saying, okay, who the hell am I? Okay, who I am is one who galvanizes thousands of people. And how do I do that? by becoming the greatest leader I can become, because I can control me. If I build me, and we've heard it, if they build it, they will come. Field of Dreams. If you haven't watched it, you might need to go back and watch it again. If I build it, they will come. So now I have this urgency to start my belief in who I am, developing that belief in and what I have to do. Okay, taking action steps. What am I consumed with? Okay, events. Events. I need my 5-star lieutenants and maybe only 1 or 2 in the beginning. I need them in the training. I need to get as many in that training, but I'm not pushing people to training. I'm pushing to become the greatest leader. And leader, I galvanize the masses. The masses are going to give me excuses. The strong ones are going to just follow me by default. So I don't have to worry about what people do if I do everything that I'm supposed to do. So if I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, then I'm setting myself up for success, because there's no business that doesn't have customers. So I need to have as many customers as I can. And I need to actually have really set goals. And so this takes me into a very crash. I'm going to give you a crash course because I have about 8-10 minutes left in this. I really wanted to cut it down at 30 minutes after. But here's what you have here. For me, for this week, what I'm going to tell you to focus on is, if I were starting from day one, I'm going to now tap into understanding my goals. And my goals are going to tap into events and customers or clients. The one who has the most customers makes the most money. So I already told you, if I have 5 McDonald's, if I have 5 generals, 5 SVPs, I don't need to worry about whether I have a whole bunch of other corner stores of Krispy Kremes. I don't have to worry about if I got 15 other In-N-Out burgers in one city or spanning the states. I need to have a system, and the system's already in place, but it starts with the leadership within me and how great I'm going to do it. I just need to master a few things: events, and how to acquire my clients, and how to create a turnkey operation for that. The events of what I'm going to master and become and build and feel. I already said this, but because I talk fast, it's being recorded, I want you to hear it again. How do I fill up an event that I don't have to pay for? How do I acquire more customers than anybody else? It's predicated on how many machines or stores I have open, which is my leaders. Leaders positioned throughout the world. How do I find the leaders? I become that leader. Now, if I understand that urgency of what I believe and I'm taking actions to do that, starting with being on this call, then I don't have to worry about what I'm going to acquire and what I'm going to have. If I put the right food in my system, I don't have to worry about whether my machine of a body's going to work properly. If I read the right books, I don't need to worry about if my finances are in my spirit and my habits, are going to be right. I don't need to know if my mind is going to be right, if my attitude is going to be right, if my altitude and the height and my vision and how big in the picture and what I paint, none of this is going to go astray if I'm developing this leadership, this leader within me. And so I moved from that urgency we do have. I've understood the events, the customers, and the goals. I go to number 4, which really is purpose. But you guys, you keep hearing the same word, so I'm gonna switch it up on you. I'm gonna say it's purpose, but the real word is not purpose. It's wrapped up in a word called why. Why am I doing what I'm doing? In that why, I need you to understand, the why is really your purpose. And in this, I want you guys to get this, they're synonymous. Watch how this works. And number 4, there's only 3 types of people on this planet. Only 3. The first one, they succeed, because people are asking me, so how do people get to this pinnacle of success? First of all, you never reach it until you reach God, but that's another conversation. But the perception, what other people see as success of being free, starts with how big. Remember, I said your why and your purpose. So I want you to understand this, right? Some people, there's a measuring stick. There is a component within you that measures how large your why is. And in that component, it can shift at any time. You can lose your house and your why goes through the roof. Um, you may have a chance of getting a Grammy and your why goes through the roof. Um, somebody could, God forbid, kidnap your child, your why goes through the roof. Going somewhere with this. Now, there's 3 types of people, and it tells you how big the stick is. the ruler is, the measuring. The first one is a person who they have a reason to, I mean, it really, they have a reason to live. It's like, why are you here? They have a reason to live. But who's the second person? They, I want you guys to get this. I'm gonna make sure I verse it right. The first one is you have a person you're willing to live for. You have something you have something that you're willing to live for. You have something to look forward to. You have something to drive yourself to the next level. You have something you have to complete. You have something you need to put your hands around. You have something that is just so like, I'm not leaving this earth until I complete this. You have something to drive yourself through. Maybe it's your child. I don't know. Maybe it's an award. Maybe it's accomplishment. I don't know. Maybe it's to prove your father or your mom are wrong because you have parents' issues. You had something to live for. Here's the second person who really wins. Someone who has something to die for. And here's the third person. It's a doozy. Someone who has something to kill for. As unfortunate it is, these are the three greatest driving forces on the planet to get you to the top of a mountain. And if you don't get to the top of the mountain, it wasn't that serious to me. Now, I don't know if Dr. Thomas told you or Bree or any of the other leaders, but I am pretty much black coffee. I'm just going to tell you what it is and like it is. I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. If you don't have something that wakes you up early in the morning and keeps you up late at night and that you're obsessed with, you will not win at anything, just so you're clear. So you putting your little toe in and sticking in and being excited and waiting for somebody to get you all motivated and you aren't already motivated and you're trying to find yourself when all you gotta do is pick up a broken piece of mirror and find yourself because that's the person that has nothing, that has everything to live for. That's the person that has nothing to live, to lose, that's gonna go out there. That's the two most dangerous people, is a person that has something to die for and something to kill for, meaning they have nothing to lose. Because they're like, I have nothing to lose. I'm gonna tell you. Um, I mean, I don't condone studying him from a. Um, I'm not even gonna frame it. If you go and just one of my on my vision board, one of the publishers and writers that will be co-authoring my book over the next 2 years is Robert Greene. He's on my vision board. Robert Greene wrote the 48 Laws of Power. He wrote the 50th Law of Power with 50 Cent. Um, I don't encourage you to necessarily go. There's more people that I would encourage you to go study when it comes to leadership. But when it comes to business acumen, what Curtis has been able to do, what 50 Cent has been able to do is beyond any adjective. But you'll find that if you, the only reason I'm reading a book with him, and it's an illusion. Never judge a book by its cover, because that book is so bomb, of the 50th Law. But I only read it because Robert Greene was actually behind publishing it and writing it. And when you understand this man came from the streets, came from, like all of us, we all know somebody or dealt with somebody, but he literally came from being a drug lord, being shot, left for dead. And so when he walks into the corporate rooms right now, we have probably currently about 7 TV shows that are blowing off the map. I mean, people cannot wait for Power. They could not wait for any of his Power Book 2. All this is just off the chain. He bet on himself. That's another conversation in itself. But his mentality of dealing with facing somebody with a gun in his face with nothing to lose, when he's dealing with these tycoons who usually eat people and spit them out because the real gangsters are in the boardrooms, he's looking at them like, he's cutting deals like, he's already been trained by the best ground. So all he needed was somebody to dress him up, put him in the right boardroom, because the corner wasn't the boardroom he needed to be in. But I say that to say that when you have something to really live for, something to really die for, or something that you would kill for, like your child, and you have to get something done. It's the only time something will get done. And at that point, you don't really care. You want people ask me to train them and teach them how to get rid of people's opinions and well, my mama and my sister and that. You aren't serious enough about why you're doing what you're doing. Because when you have somewhere you have to be, excuse my language, but you don't give a damn what somebody else thinks. You are not looking for approval. When your urgency is you have to keep a roof over your baby's head, or you have to get your child through college, or you have to get out of a certain neighborhood, or you have to get away from a man that is abusing you, or you have to, you don't have, you have very little room for anybody else's opinion. In fact, you're irritated with it. You will stab somebody in the foot. So that why that turns into purpose. See, a man or woman with no purpose has no life. A man or woman that has no why has no life. You might want to stray from them. So what do you really want to do in this lifetime? It's a great prerequisite question. If they're like, I'm not really sure, I'm trying to run. That's a liability. Their thinking to you is a liability. They're not knowing where they're going is a liability. Your job is to find people that have a destination and show them how to get where they're trying to get in a year, in 6 months, in 3 years, in a year, in 5 years, in a year and a half, 2 years. Your job is to provide them a faster vehicle in their life than they currently have, which our vehicle is applicable to this conversation to over 95% of people on this planet on a bad day. Did anybody hear that? Are you guys understanding what I'm saying? You're watching people in a rusty cart skateboard, and you're pulling up saying, I have a train ticket. You're attempting to get from LA to New York on a skateboard. I have a bullet train ticket. I have an airline ticket. We're going to the same place, and I'm going to show you how to get there with me in a fraction of the time that you're currently doing. That's the only offer you need to master. So let's go through the ingredients. Let's wrap this up. Who am I? Legacy, urgency, why. Why is encompassing the 3 types of people, the purpose, the value. We didn't get to value. You definitely need to have value, okay? So let's get to value. Value I'm going to talk about more next week than now. I'm going to touch on it right now. I just want you to understand. In fact, I'm just going to rattle this off so you see how value, all these tie into each other. So you have value. Value is linked to the next one, which is long-term vision. Your long-term vision should incorporate your family and your business, your why and your how. Your why and your how. Your why is your family, whatever that is to you. I'm using that metaphorically because you may have a different why, but then it takes you to your business. All this is a neural link. Don't have time to tap into that, but you need to understand the neural link of what is connected to the pain that will give you the pleasure. And then, of course, number 7 is mastery, the mastery of closing. Now watch how we do this in less than 3 minutes. Let's just look at 3 things. Let's look at Baltimore. Are you registered? Okay, yes. How many people do you have registered with you? Okay, that's a problem because however many people you have registered with you is going to be the barometer of how much value you think you're worth. Now let's look at customers. You want to get to the next position of whatever. You want to earn a certain level in life. In that, do you have a project 10? That means every week I have 10 customers. And every week I have not just 10 customers. See, you're building, you have to be in this long enough to understand. I'm just going to tell you one of my favorite of 3 of the products is ID Seal. I'm going to tell you why ID Seal is one of my favorites. Is because everybody needs security. Everybody's not going to need security, but everybody needs it. Let's look at it like this. That means that I'm not going to get them on a monthly. Why are you letting people get on a monthly? It's $269, $270. Let's just say $300 for an annual. You're sitting up there thinking your friends and the people that you know can't afford $300. I'm thinking, is my relationship with you worth $300? It's the way you think that allows you to close. It's the way you close that allows you to understand the mastery of value. This right here, my time to have a conversation with me, I already know it's worth $10,000. I give it for free to a man like Mr. Al Thomas that helps me make hundreds of thousands of dollars. And the people that I love, people that are equally yoked, people that live in the river of reciprocity, you get my time. But aside from that, if I talk to you, if I have a relationship with you, if you are my family and my friend, if Joshua is my family, or Jonathan or Natasha is my family and friend, the question I have to ask when I go to Al Thomas or David or Adrian is my relationship with you worth $300? Because if it's not worth $300 for you to do me a favor, I have to then second guess why you're my friend. I need to put you in a different bucket. And I should be able to acquire 10 friends as a support factor in my business in a week's time. And then build on an annual so I don't have to worry about purging and dropping off and losing and this and the other. I need to understand whatever product or service I'm offering, is my conversation indicative of the value of what I'm giving? You could be a massage therapist. You're gonna go, if you're hurt, you're gonna go see an acupuncturist. If you're sick, you're gonna go see a pharmacist. You will pay where value is created. So you gotta ask yourself, are you extraordinary at creating value? Because if people are not buying what you have to offer, it's because you are not sharing anything of value. And what is that of value that we are sharing? Ourselves. See, they aren't buying a product or service, they're buying you. So because you haven't mastered the art of creating value, for you thinking that your conversation is worth at least $300 an hour, now you don't go out there telling them that. You walk into the conversation knowing this is a $300 conversation. And if I attempt to have a $300 conversation 10 times today, the worst person on the planet is going to get 2 people who believe it, even if they feel sorry for you because your conversation is raggedy. But 10 conversations after a week, that's 50 conversations. Guess what happens next week? I'm going to have 10 conversations. And I'm going to find 3 people each day that think that I'm worth. You know what? Get back to me next week. And my money's funny right now, but I want to support what you're doing, whatever you're doing. Get back to me next month. I'm now trying to keep track. 3 months later, I'm 600 conversations in, 10 conversations a day. That doesn't mean I go out there and I sell 10 people a day. I got to go prospect 10 people a day. I got to go door to door. If I just step outside the house, 10 people going to pass me. And I have to frame my mind to know my conversations are worth $300. And when I meet somebody, it's like, you know what? You're my waitress. I love the way that you serve me. I'd be remiss to not want to bless you. I don't have a whole lot. I'm going to tip you well, and I'm going to give you something free from my company that is going to be able to offset what you're working as a waitress here. It's going to be the best tip you ever had. How would you like what did I just have? I just had a $50 meal. If I can give you $300 back on this meal, would you take it on top of the tip that I give you? Excellent. I just want to exchange numbers with you. I'm going to give you something. Everything that I give is going to have value. I'm not supposed to do this, but because you treated me so well and this food was so good, I need you to have my card and text me tonight. It's only good for this number. You see Mission Impossible? By 12 noon tomorrow, this card will implode. This number will self-destruct. This conversation will not exist. But because you are the bomb.com, I promise you, I'm not flirting with you. I want to bless you because you took care of me and my family so well at this table. The coffee that you just served was so good. The Danish I just bought was amazing. Just the smile you have just costs you an amazing. That smile that's an expensive smile. It just costs you a new friendship. That smile just costs you a new friendship. Here's my name and number. I need to stay in touch with you. Everything I do knows how to generate me being you being me, value. I'm going to love on the world, and the world's going to love on me back. I'm going to do it with intention. You need to understand long-term vision, your family business. You need to understand the mastery of closing. But more than that, this is where we close. And that is all I want you to think about is, what am I worth? What is my time worth? What is my conversation worth? How great am I at creating value? Not just for myself, but for my tribe. How can I create value for Dr. Al Thomas, Dr. Nelson, and I can't create value for myself? I mean, bottom line, look, you know what, Joshua, I need you to talk to this brother. He might as well be Booker T. Washington to me. Last I looked at the picture, it changed. He started looking like, Malcolm X. I looked at him a little longer, and I was like, God, he's changing. It's like a video, and the faces just keep changing. It's like, are you mastering the art of creating value? It's like, if I could get you on the phone with Barack, if I could get you on the phone with Mother Teresa, if I could get you on the phone with the Pope, wherever their value center lives, if I'm blessed enough to catch them, could you make time? Would you make time? This is a class in itself. I really, because I can go on. We'll be here for the next 2 hours. Creating value is so exciting to me. It's the gem. It's the mastery. It's the getting yourself out of the way. It's knowing how to pique someone's interest. It's knowing how to walk by them with them apple pie and their mouth is watering and they're like begging you for some apple pie, and they don't even eat sugar. They don't even like anything sweet, but they just smelt what you had to say. I'm not even interested in what you do, but I gotta know what you do because of the way that I need to know who the hell you are. Who are you? I am so enthused. You just made my day. I don't need to meet nobody else for the rest of the day. The way you make me feel in the conversation we just had within 5 minutes, I make it a point that when I talk to people, they understand in the way that I contribute to them, that it's a God appointment. Our conversation was not accidental. God sent me here. And he sent you here. And if you don't have the value of understanding how extraordinary this God appointment is, of what you've been begging for, looking for, seeking your whole life, you might as well go and bury yourself because you'll never recognize real gold. So that being said, I am complete. I see my doctor. If I must have hit the nerve, because if I hit the nerve, I see Dr. Thomas get excited, I know I'm complete for the day. This was the foundation for June. I'm done.